We're back with Team Rising. We got Estuardo and Carrie here, and some big moves with big tech. Department of Justice is launching a formal antitrust review of some of the nation's biggest tech companies. So we've got that on one side, and then also an interesting note here, Estuardo. So Facebook and Amazon have actually set records for the amount of money that they are spending lobbying DC. Clearly they are worried because there's an emerging bipartisan concern about the way that these tech companies affect all of our lives.
Right, absolutely. I think it's different though from how they're approaching it, the Democrats versus Republicans. I think on the Republican side, especially driven by the president who for about 2 years has been saying that search engines are treating him poorly. Every time social media has anything to say about him, it's negative. He's been calling for an investigation of social media giants for a long time now. He's got the right guy. Bill Barr is ready to do this. From the Democratic side, it appears to have been focused primarily on Russians meddling in the elections and privacy and what people are doing with the data. So totally bipartisan. I question whether or not the motives are the same, especially as we near the 2020 election.
But it doesn't really matter, does it, Carrie, if the motives are very different, which is that this still is a huge threat to big tech. I mean, ultimately, that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, no, I think I agree it's bipartisan. I think we can walk and chew gum. I think we can be concerned about bias issues. And we look at political donations coming out of Silicon Valley. It skews so hard left, so far left. And we see evidence of when you search for the word Republican, you get incredibly offensive and non sequitur responses that make Republicans look awful. And we see the employees of tech companies and Facebook employees even admitted that they were influencing their news feed to suppress conservative content. So we see this. So I think it's worth having multiple items on the agenda. And privacy is a big issue, and Russian and other China privacy and security.
My concern's not any of that. My concern is that you have gigantic companies that have such control over our lives, right? I mean, that's the bigger issue. And we don't just see it in tech, right? We see growth and consolidation across any number of industries, which impacts labor and wages. It impacts, the news that we are seeing, like all of that is a piece of this. You see on Amazon the way they privilege their own products over products that are put on there by third-party sellers, and it just gobbles up our entire economy.
Yeah. Somebody said this to me recently, which is that all of these problems that we have, the Russians, the concerns about bias, all of it is just a problem of bigness. All of it is the fact that these companies are just too damn big. Yeah. So is it time to break them up? What do you think?
Well, I think you're going to have a hard time breaking these companies up. Whether there's a different approach that comes out of this to regulate them, which obviously under this administration, regulation scares everyone, but that might be a more likely path than breaking them up. I do think that how they permeate our daily lives, even through these boxes that speakers that are just in the middle of your house. I mean, I know the generation right after me that they don't even bother going to the grocery store. They simply just yell out, "This is what I need," and it's amazing that that's the society that we're moving to, and which leads to complete control by one company in all aspects of life.
Tracking all of our data.
Last thought, Carrie.
No, I mean, I think breaking it up. Look, I'm all for a fair, across the board even playing field. And I think that that's something that unites the left and right, that the term crony capitalism is something that is universally detested. So I think there's a way to call them out for anti-competitive practices. Whether that means breaking them up per se, I don't necessarily agree with that. I do think that this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of, because the thing about technology is it's usually 10 steps ahead of regulators. And so by the time regulators catch up, the turf will be completely changed.
It's changed quickly.
You mean our congressional leaders are not giving you confidence in their ability to navigate these incredibly tricky and complex issues?
Shocking.
No way. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
A U.S. citizen is held and then released from ICE custody.
And if you think there's something mysterious going down inside the Beltway, you might actually be right. It turns out that the Army is doing something interesting.
Weird.